Alright folks, it is postseason time. And normally, there isn't really anything to do that coincides with HUT and postseason play, other than the playoff performer cards themselves. But this year, we've got integration. Because the better that the players that you have do in the playoffs, or their team specifically, the better those cards are going to be. So today's episode, I'm going to give you my predictions, whether they be bold or not, just my gut feelings on how the first round of the NHL playoffs are going to go. I'm No Sleeves 12. Oh, Carlson, don't be terrible and get hurt game one. Oh, God, the Sharks need you. Alright, so let's start with an easy one. The Lightning and the Columbus Blue Jackets. Now, I'm not going to lie, I didn't watch a lot of teams other than my Sharks this season, but that Columbus game to get in against the New York Rangers was one of the most exhilarating games I had seen pretty much all season. Love my Blue Jackets. That being said, this one is probably the easiest. Now, if you don't follow me on Twitter, shame on you, but on Twitter today, I talked about some things that wouldn't shock me. Not necessarily what I think is going to happen, but wouldn't stun me at all. Here's how I see this going. One of two ways. One, the Lightning win in 5. Pretty simple. Columbus feels a little just happy to be here. A little bit less than last time they were in the playoffs, but they did just get in playing playoff hockey. I don't really feel like they're a wild card team. They have a very good roster. It took some time to click. And when they're firing on all cylinders, they have one of the best rosters, in my opinion, in the NHL. That being said, they are going up against a powerhouse in the first round in the Lightning. A team that we haven't seen since late 2000 Red Wings or, like the early 2000 Colorado Avalanche. Like, this team is stacked from top to bottom. Now, how does this implicate for HUT? All right, so today we got the Josh Anderson and Cam Atkinson 91 overall cards. Those are going to go up based on how many wins that Columbus has in the playoffs, just like Tyler Johnson and Braden Coburn are going to have, depending on how the Lightning do. Here's the thing. If Columbus can win game 1, I don't care about any other game in the series. If Columbus can win game 1, come out stunned, shock the world, win game 1, here is what I think is going to happen. I think Tampa will win in 7, which is pretty bold, a hot take. If they lose game 1, done in 5. That is how I see it. I think that they need to shock and awe the Lightning. I think the Lightning need to maybe get smacked in the face because they assume they're so good. But this team has been so close to the playoffs before. It's not like they came out of nowhere and dominated this season, and now they're just, I think they know what they have to do. So, as far as HUT goes, if they win game 1, then Josh Anderson and Cam Atkinson go to 93. I would buy them, to be honest. They're probably going to go up in price depending on... I'm assuming that these cards are going to go up in price depending on how far along they go in the playoffs, but I would pick them up. It's a bold take, and I don't think they're going to cost a lot just because they're going up against the Lightning. But as far as cards go, if you're going to buy playoff predictor cards or Stanley Cup event cards, I would go with Braden Coburn. I think that he is probably going to be one of the best of all of the cards. The dude is a unit, and at 99, if they win the round, which I think they will, and he's going to get double the synergies, man, I just think that that's a solid card to invest in. However, like I said, I think if they win game 1, it goes 7. So, anyways, Lightning either in 5 or in 7. All right, on to the next matchup, the New York Islanders and Pittsburgh Penguins. Now, this is not the same Pittsburgh Penguin team that has dominated the last 5 years, but it is still the Penguins, with Crosby, Malkin, Kessel, all the same guys. The Islanders were hot garbage last year, lost John Tavares, and somehow went from allowing the most goals in the NHL to the least, which is mind-boggling when you think about it, because they really didn't add all that much. So, players in this series, we're looking at Justin Schultz and Jake Gensel as far as the HUT Stanley Cup cards go, and Anders Lee and Brock Nelson for the Islanders. My prediction for this series, I see no way that this does not go 7 games. For whatever reason, everyone's kind of writing off the Islanders. I think that they are still a very good team. I think the Penguins are on the end of their run. There's only so many times that Crosby and Malkin can carry you, or Kessel. I mean, even Hornqvist, to be honest with you. But I just have a feeling that they might just be exhausted at this point. A lot of playoff miles on most of that team. And I think that this goes 7. And I'm going to take the Islanders. I think the Islanders move on, making Brock Nelson and Anders Lee low-key really good grabs, because I don't think they're going to be all that expensive. But, again, it wouldn't stun me if Pittsburgh won. Kind of the same scenario as what I said about Columbus. They're happy to be there. But I think this Islanders team, Barry Trotz, isn't going to let them mess around. Let's go Islanders in 7. Probably the most anticipated, in the East at least, and maybe the entire playoffs, the Leafs and Bruins, round 2. So, we've got DeBrusk and Krug for the Stanley Cup cards for Boston. If you watch my my Stanley Cup card video, those are kind of lame, not going to lie. Gardner and Kapanen for the Leafs. Kapanen is an extremely rare card. I've only seen him on the market like once. And Gardner can be good again. Depends on how well they do. Any of these cards that get boosted to 99 look fantastic. So, let's get into the predictions. The Leafs took the Bruins to 7 games last year. I think that's something that a lot of people overlook. Toronto has not played very well, especially in their own end. They give up a lot of goals, and they seem to score their way out of their defensive problems. Let's also remember that they pushed them to 7 games last year and added John Tavares. They also added Jake Muzzin, who hasn't had a really good time with the Leafs, but he's better than almost every single defenseman that played for the Leafs last year in the playoffs. That combined with Morgan Riley's breakout. Here, like I said, like I did with the Columbus series, here is my hot take on this series. I have a feeling, as long as they don't go down 0-2, so as long as Toronto splits in the first 2 games, as long as Boston does not go up 2-0, I think Toronto will win this in 5 games. I don't know why. It's going to completely get roasted in the comments section. I understand. It makes no sense. I don't know what it is. For some reason, everyone just assumes that Toronto is going to lay over and die because Boston is this playoff-tested, perfectly put-together lineup, and they're heavier, play playoff-style hockey, Toronto's soft, all of that. I totally understand it. Normal common sense. Now, like I said, if Boston goes up 2-0, I think that this is going to be a 7-game series again. I don't know why, but I just think that it will be a 7-game series. But if Toronto can split in the first 2, I think Toronto will win in 5, maybe 6. It won't go 7. Again, hot take there. I think that this game, this particular matchup is going to have the most amount, or the highest amount of overtime games, and when there's a ton of overtime games, it goes back and forth. Actually, aside from one other series that I'm going to get into a little later, but a series that will have a ton of overtimes. If they get rolled over in the first game again, kind of like last year, if memory serves, and I don't know, Toronto's in trouble, but if they can split in that first one, I think it's over in 5, maybe 6. Let's go Toronto. Go pick up your Gardners and Kapanens. You heard it here first. And the last matchup in the East, we've got the defending Washington Capitals and the Carolina Hurricanes. Awesome job. Glad the Hurricanes are back in the playoffs. So we're looking at Michael Furland and Justin Williams from the Canes. And we've got Brett Connolly and Dmitry Orlov for the Capitals. This one is honestly my most confident pick. I am going to say that Carolina wins exactly 1 game, no more, no less. Just happy to be there. I'm glad that they're in. I think that Washington may get tired and exhausted, but that's not going to happen until the next round. I think that Washington steamrolls the Carolina Hurricanes. They're going to need a lot of overtime goals, or a lot of overtime games, I think, to drag this one out. And I think that the defending champs are just ready for another decent run. Washington Capitals in 5. I would stay away from Derek Ryan and Furland. That would be my prediction. All right, let's start with the West. The Nashville Predators and the Dallas Stars. Again, congratulations on Dallas getting into the playoffs. I'm all for teams getting in after a while, after, they aren't really expected to do much. And again, Dallas is a little bit older roster, but still decent. Had a good season, took advantage of some other teams performing horribly when they were expected to do worse. And here we are, Nashville narrowly eking out the division win. Which was important in my opinion, because getting Dallas as opposed to the other two in the Central, extremely important. My prediction for this one, we're looking at a Philip Forsberg and Ryan Johansson. Honestly, two of the better Stanley Cup cards when you think in comparison of the players that were selected. A lot of underrated guys. As well as Anton Khudobin and Radulov. Unfortunately, Dallas, the Khudobin card's kind of pointless, even if they somehow win and get 99. No one's really going to use him. He's a little bit smaller. Radulov, that's a pretty sick card. So, how I think it is going to go, I think that Nashville will wake up. They have a very deep roster. They were picked by a ton of people to go back to the finals, and I see no different in reason why to pick against them now. I'm going to say Nashville in 6 games. I will say this: Ben Bishop has played great for the Stars, and if we do end up seeing Khudobin, because they've been a great tandem all year long, I don't think it's that big of a drop-off. I think that they can steal 2, but more of a, they're up, maybe up 2-0, win 1, go down 3-1, that kind of thing. Win one more game and then lose in game 6. That's my opinion there. So, again, Nashville in 6. Next up, let's talk about the other Central Division matchup. We've got the St. Louis Blues and the Winnipeg Jets. It is crazy to me that St. Louis was in last place in, I believe, the conference as late as December and somehow managed to come within 1 point of winning the division. That is nuts. And unfortunately, their reward is going to be the Winnipeg Jets. Now, they severely underperformed this year, but their roster is still loaded. And in terms of Hut, they have potentially the best cards as far as tandems go, because Dustin Byfuglien and Jacob Trouba at 99 will be nuts. And then for the St. Louis Blues, we've got David Perron and Braden Shen. Both decent cards, but that Byfuglien and Trouba are both monsters on the back end, and if they get to 99, which I think they will, would totally be worth it. But those are going to be some of the most expensive cards in the game. That being said, how I see this going, I think that St. Louis has played terrific. I think both of these teams look like playoff teams. When their rosters go down, there's a little bit of skill mixed in with a lot of grit. And, a lot of hard-hitting presence. I don't think this will be a very soft end-to-end, tons of goals. I think that there are going to be a lot of close games, and goaltending is going to play a major part. That being said, I think that Winnipeg's home ice is just absolutely godly in the playoffs, and I think that they will win in 7 games against the Blues, setting up Nashville and Winnipeg for a second straight time, and that one is going to be nuts as well. On to the Pacific. The first matchup, we've got the Pacific Division winning Western Conference winning Calgary Flames against the Colorado Avalanche. These teams have never met before in the playoffs, which kind of blows my mind because they were in the playoffs together for so long. Anyways, that being said, these teams aren't as different as they would look as far as their standings go. They both have very top-heavy lineups, and then the point production kind of falls off for both of them. They both have high-end defenseman scorers in Barrie and Giordano. And then in net, I think that's where things are going to get a little crazy. So for the Avalanche in Hut, we've got Samuel Girard and Alex Kerfoot. Again, in my video, I stated that those are kind of on the weaker end as far as the Stanley Cup cards go. For Calgary, we've got Derek Ryan and Michael Backlund. Michael Backlund's not a bad card. The Derek Ryan I'm not really all that super interested in. But regardless, here is how I think this series will go. Again, I think that they match up pretty evenly. I think that it's going to be who has home ice, who has last change. I think that that will actually matter, as both of these teams' first lines are dominant. And I think that this is going to go 7. I think that Riddick and Mike Smith are very average goaltending tandem. I think Riddick is going to start first, and if Mike Smith does, I think that Colorado might win game 1. I don't think he's a good goaltender anymore, but that's just me. And then in the other end, Varlamov and Grubauer, again, those aren't all that crazy. Grubauer's had a pretty good season, though, so depending on who they start there, I think that this is going to go 7 games. I think that home ice will matter based on change and whatnot, line change and whatnot, and just a feeling here. So either of these cards, any of these cards that you want, I think are going to be pretty highly rated, because again, even if a team gets 3 wins they're going to be a 97 overall, which isn't terrible either. So that is my prediction. I think it's going to be Calgary in 7 games. And now for the Sharks and Golden Knights. Now, I hate talking about my Sharks when it comes to predictions because, man, you just don't like talking. You don't want to jinx it, stuff like that. Here's what I will say, my take. If Karlsson and Pavelski are still hurt, can't play nearly what they will, I think Pavs is completely fine. I think that Karlsson is really damaged goods right now. He's missed 33 games. And I think that his foot's an issue. I think his groin is an issue. And I have a feeling that it's going to be more bad than good. I think this is over in 5 for the Golden Knights. Martin Jones has been terrible. He's been above average ever since he's become a Shark in the regular season. I'll say this, though. So that let's just park that. So if Karlsson is not what he is or even close to what he is and he's really hurt and he's only playing because it's the playoffs, I think this is over in 5. If he is fine and even 80%, Pavelski's okay, Thornton's knees haven't blown out like the last 2 seasons, and Meyer, who just recently got injured but seems to be okay. If everyone's okay, and I mean like playoff okay, like you're not getting cortisone shots in the knee like Thornton was, I think that the Sharks will win in 6. They have the best lineup I have ever seen them have when everyone is healthy, and they dominated teams throughout the middle of that season, regardless of how bad Martin Jones and Aaron Dell were playing. Like, they had in the 40s team save percentage. Like, that is nuts. Like, the tandem of Jones and Dell were in the 40s among goaltenders in the entire NHL. That is nuts. So just think, if Martin Jones can have a pulse, and playoff Martin Jones is far different so far in his career than regular season Martin Jones. So if he just comes back, and I'm talking like a 915 save percentage, average, he's under 900 for the season. His playoff average is 921. So if he can be somewhere in the middle, I think the Sharks will roll here, and I think that they will go on a very deep run, or it could be over very quickly depending on health. So I will say Sharks in 6. For the love of God, please win this. Just this round. Please, it gets much easier in my opinion. Just win this round. So, go Coach Scher and Hurdle. Both, I think, are sick cards. I have a feeling this is going to go 7 games, but I don't want it to, just for like my own heart. So, Sharks in 6. Let's go. So, guys, that is going to do it for my playoff predictions. I hope that, if some of you listened or you're kind of on the fence, maybe my bold prediction, or not really that bold. Some of them were kind of bold. Will maybe push you over the edge to go and invest in those Stanley Cup event cards. Some of them are amazing, specifically Winnipeg. So if you can get your hands on them, it's fun. It's just fun, to be honest with you. So let me know what you think of the video, the predictions. Tell me where I'm wrong. Tell me where I'm right. Like the video, subscribe to my channel, all that good stuff. And I will see you guys, well, probably tomorrow. Also, want to say, if you want to join my channel's bracket challenge, I'm going to offer some specific channel awards. Someone who finishes 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, probably going to get your own VIP badge for the next year in my Twitch channel. Also, free entry, automatic entry into next season's Sleeveless Gaming Fantasy Hockey League. So, guys, again, if you want to check that out, it's in the comments the info section down below. Thank you, guys. Have a good one.